white shirts. Screaming, "Every night?" The guy next to Walter woke him as he nodded out, poring over a map of the San Fernando Valley. "If necessary," the instructor sounded surprised. "How would I know?" Another applicant bellowed, "When you stink so bad your passengers open the windows even though it's 100 degrees with a smog alert." The room erupted. Close to 100 young, middle-aged, and older men of dark, medium, and light complexion hooting and howling. Some slapped, drummed, or pounded the writing surface/arm of the beat-up junior high school desk and chair combination into which they were crammed. The instructor stood still, a pained half-smile morphing into a smirk, which drooped to a frown. City of Angels Executive Car Service trusts our associates to use professional judgment. A freshly laundered, crisply ironed white shirt creates a positive initial impression on clients and helps them feel comfortable. Remember, it's quite likely that the person entering your vehicle is a visitor, and perhaps he or she has been traveling for many hours or even days. You're a big part of that person's initial experience in the Los Angeles area. Walter raised his hand. "If you trust us to drive your cars, I suppose you expect us to know how often to change our shirts." "Thank you," breathing a sigh of relief. Class dismissed. Driving home, Walter suddenly realized he didn't own a single white shirt. He had classes all day tomorrow and was scheduled to drive for the first time that night. He took the next exit, calling Madeline to tell her he'd be late. The Venice Salvation Army is huge, a rack of white shirts stretching 30 feet along one wall. Prices range from $5 to $12. 50-50 shirts the cheapest. Many had a slightly soiled look, and Walter remembered his sister warning him not to use Clorox on them. The polyester would yellow. He replied, "Wash 'em in the sink with fucking dish soap, for Christ's sake. Rinse, shake 'em out, button 'em up, another shake, then hang 'em up in the shower, and by morning, perfecto." He chose one of the less yellowed 50-50s, and one 100% primo Egyptian cotton styled by Marco for the elegant man. He handed the volunteer a 20, receiving a few dollars in change, plus, "Thank you, have a beautiful night." Then she winked. Wow. 3 shirts cost the same as his morning latte, croissant, and generous tip for the barista in his perpetual struggle to sweeten her attitude. Madeline was at the door, sipping white wine, probably her second. "Honey, don't expect me to wash those shirts for you. Long day." He never knew how she'd react to his special behavior. Today she displayed obvious, though mild, disdain, so he assumed she was not insulted in a very deep way. "I figure it's important that the shirt is basically clean and pressed. Who could tell, sitting in the back seat of a Lincoln Town car at LAX, if my shirt is not blinding white? When we used to make out in the movies, did you ever notice that my teeth didn't gleam like those guys in the Pepsodent ads?" "Please." "Drink?" Nodding, "No. Lot of reading for class." "Honey, it's a good idea to get those shirts for driving." "As long as I don't smell." "I love the way you smell. That's what drives me crazy. And you don't do anything. It's not fair. It's just you." Pulling him down to the couch, she tongued his ear and a few buttons of her blouse eased open, so he kissed her swelling cleavage, all creamy and fragrant, as her hand went to his crotch. An insistent rapping at the door crashed their spontaneous passion. Squirming from her embrace, painfully loaded, Walter did the famous stiff-legged duck walk to the door. "Norman, what are you doing here?" It was Walter's older half-brother, recently divorced. He spread his hands in a supplicating gesture. "I feel like, with Mom and Dad gone, I have nowhere to go." "Yeah, it's okay. Come in." "I don't mean to be a bother." Craning his head to see Madeline, who in standing up from the couch had caused the rest of the buttons on her blouse to pop, her beautiful breasts tumbling from the scanty black bra. Madeline, on cue, "It's not a bother." Norman, mouth-watering, "Well, I just—" Walter, motioning with a glance, "Sorry." Norman, too stupid to be devious, "It's okay." Walter, through clenched teeth, "I'm sure." As Madeline, the least embarrassed of the three, buttoned her blouse, Walter thought about his relationship with Norman. Norman's father left Mom when he was an infant. She met Walter's dad a few years later, and soon after he was born. Mom and Norman's father were very young and surely passionate. Walter's father, who recently passed away, was 14 years older. Did he live in the shadow of that first love? Looking at Norman's stooped shoulders and confused grin, Walter was happy to be excluded from that gene pool. True, there can only be one first love, but as the song says, love is lovelier the second time around. Have a seat, Norman. Hungry? I bet you miss her cooking. Not so much. Had takeout most of the time. Drink? Sure, what do you got? What do you like? Scotch. Johnny Red okay? Oh yeah, with a splash. No ice. Make yourself comfortable. Walt? Wish I could. Too much reading. What about the lady of the house? Norman loved corny expressions. At the fridge. Thanks, got my wine. Handing Norman his drink. Taking his first sip, then a long sigh. Wish my buddy would join us. Madeline. You okay? Sitting near Walter. I'm fine. Orientation meeting was actually informative, but it went on forever. I can dig that, bro, I really can, raising his glass in salute. Previously, Norman had never addressed Walter as bro. He didn't have any particular problem to discuss, just needed to hang out. The room he rented was fine, but he didn't feel comfortable in the rest of the house, although use of the kitchen was included. Everything was too perfect, not like here. He went on to complain that based on their downcast glances and rapt attention to their cell phones, the other tenants ranged from uninterested to borderline hostile. Madeline, seeing the sense of rejection which Norman was feeling, quickly volunteered her understanding. That's how they are now. Somebody might be texting something important, like what they had for lunch, bursting into laughter. A smile of appreciation. During this needy, self-deprecating monologue, Walter's half-brother kept ogling his future wife. After 20 minutes of small talk, Walter excused himself. Driving for City of Angels executive car service could be the perfect part-time job, so he needed to make it work. Left plenty of quality time for school. Norman pumped his hand. Good luck, buddy. Madeline held him close, whispering in his ear, See you soon. Her breath was hot and slightly rancid around the edges. He climbed the stairs slowly and glanced down at the living room, enjoying how the couch faced the love seat so people could sprawl comfortably during a conversation. Her idea, of course. He washed his new white shirt in the bathroom sink, then rinsed, squeezed, shook, hung, buttoned, and shook again. Hanging it in the shower, he heard Norman's deep chuckle, followed by Madeline's bright laughter. He brushed his teeth, washed his face, and began reading an article in Scientific American, which his professor had assigned. It said that Neanderthals, the last evolutionary step before modern humans, had larger skulls than the hominids who preceded them. In the quiet bedroom, their muted conversation downstairs soothed him, the way the low rumble of his mom and dad talking in the kitchen used to. The article went on to say that Neanderthals also had very thick skulls, so the proportion of brain capacity to skull size was lower than in humans. Subdued laughter from below was a perfect backdrop to his reading. Norman, would you like a refill? Only if you join me. Of course. Fridge wincing open. Walter read the complex passages twice. The author explained that there was a period, approximately 400,000 years ago, when both early humans and Neanderthals coexisted on Earth. You poor guy, living in a rented room. It's only temporary. The clink of glasses. I'm lucky to have you two. A snatch of silence. Walter was intrigued to learn that even as Neanderthals were sliding into extinction, they mated with early humans. Below, rolling chuckles stretched into a groan, a giggle flowing into a murmur. Based on representative sampling, the author estimated that modern human DNA shares between 3 and 7% of genetic material with Neanderthals. Walter finally dozed off. A furniture leg scraped hardwood floor. God, what are we doing? He sleeps like a log. Oh, sweet Jesus. Her wine glass fell, shattering like silver bells. In his dream, Walter stirred.